Okay, guys, so you have been given the assignment of completing your first document-based question. All right, for this particular assignment, it will actually be a two-part assignment, and you will receive 2 grades for this. For the actual essay, it will count as a test grade. That's 100 points doubled. And the other part of the assignment will be your pre-writing. Now, for the regular AP test, no one will ever see your pre-writing, but I will for this particular one. And you will be completing the pre-writing mostly in groups, if not all in groups. All right, and it will be 2 separate packets. You will get the original DBQ packet, which you can see here, and the DBQ pre-writing packet, which you see here. Okay. All right, now back to the actual DBQ, the power of the pause button. You didn't even know I paused that unless I told you. All right, unless you're really slick. All right, so the DBQ was written by me and by Mr. O'Neill in 2011 at something called the James Madison Seminar. All right, and as O'Neill and I sometimes do, we went a little bit overboard, and the original form of this DBQ had a ton of document excerpts. I have since whittled them down to 7 to match what the redesigned AP test or AP DBQ was going to be expecting of you. All right, so I picked out 7 of the, 15, 16, 18, 19 documents that we originally had. All right, so this is the cover page of the document you've been given, and the prompt for this particular DBQ you find in the header here. The Constitution represents the subversion of the revolution. Assess the validity of the statement, or of that statement. It might, if I felt like being better, it would say that. So more or less, this DBQ is asking you to basically talk about what the classical Republicans thought versus what the classical liberals thought. You may think back to our discussion about the Anti-Federalists versus the Federalists, and how the Anti-Federalists saw themselves as the true guardians of revolutionary principles and why we fought the war. So more or less, Anti-Federalists would think that, yes, it is quite a subversion. All right, the Constitution does subvert why we fought the war. Whereas classic liberals might say, whoa, hold on a second. We fought the war for the sake of liberty. And our main thesis, as you should know by now, was you've got to give up a little bit of liberty to save liberty. All right, the road we were going down, the critical period, we were going to eventually become tyrannical. All right, so more or less, you are discussing both of these sides here in a different kind of framework than you did for any previous essay. Okay, so again, that is the prompt. The Constitution represents the subversion or the undercutting. If you're not sure, look up to subvert, to undercut, to downplay. Okay. To what extent does the Constitution undercut why we fought the war? That's more or less what this is asking. Okay. Now, ultimately, what you're going to be doing, you know what? Let's make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. Ultimately, what you're going to be doing, if it ever allows me to scroll down, back down to it again. Okay. I believe this will be the directions given to you on the actual DBQ. I don't know for sure. All right. But it says the prompt is based on the accompanying documents. The documents have been edited for the purpose of this exercise. So in your response, you should do the following. This is in your essay. State a relevant thesis that directly addresses all parts of the question. You are to support the thesis or relevant argument with evidence from all or all but one of the documents. Okay, you are to incorporate analysis of all or all but one of the documents into your argument. You are to focus your analysis of each doc on at least one of the following of each of the documents: the intended audience of the document, the purpose of the document, the historical content or context of the document, and the point of view of the author. Okay, you are to support your argument with analysis of historical examples outside the documents. That's your outside knowledge. You are to connect historical events or phenomena, processes, whatever, relevant to your argument. You are to connect them to broader events or processes. You are to synthesize the element into a persuasive or rather argumentative essay. Okay, And these are your 7 documents. Okay, Amos Singletree, a document from Richard Henry Lee, a chart from the Gilder Lehrman Institute about the makeup of state assemblies during the Articles of Confederation, a speech at the Constitutional Convention given by Hamilton, hint, hint, he liked the elite, a book written by Alexis de Tocqueville in 1835, not exactly during the ratification era, well after. Nonetheless, he does give an idea of classical liberalism. And there are 2 secondary sources. One written by Alan Gibson. You may remember his name from the frameworks. That outline began as his, the outline we used for the frameworks. Okay? And he talks about this new science of politics. And you may remember that's a quote from one of Hamilton's Federalist Papers. Okay? And there's another secondary source, meaning from a book written by some historian. This one happens to be named Paul Ray. All right, and the book is called Antiquity Surpassed. And he wrote this in 1994. And it has a primary source quote from John Adams, but then it has his analysis of it and other things after this. So these are John Adams' words right here. These are Paul Ray's words right here. Okay? So this is the document-based question essay you will be writing off of. And these are the prompt and the documents. Now, as I said earlier, this is the document, or the packet rather, that you will be using to pre-write in groups, maybe some on your own at home. Or you can certainly work in groups outside the classroom if need be. All right. So as you look at the docs, and again, what you are doing on this packet is going to take you much longer than your pre-writing should take on test day. Remember, your pre-writing on test day is 15 minutes, all right? But you don't have to prove it to anybody on paper. For this particular assignment, you do have to prove it. I can see a typo right up here. There should be 2. Let me fix that. This is my original document. All right, let me fix that. All right, so since you are proving your pre-writing to me, it's going to take you longer. You've got to write it out more. It can't be as shorthand-ish as maybe your actual pre-writing will be. All right. So some of the things you'll be doing, you'll be writing a tentative thesis statement, and then this up here is for me. All right, for me to grade, the thesis statement. Do you get 0 points, a half a point, or 1 point for your thesis statement? Okay. But again, don't forget the order I said in which these things should happen. Thesis statement is not your first step. Refer back to the DBQ PowerPoint for that. The first step is to attack the prompt, then your thesis statement. All right, but there's really no way for you to prove to me you attacked the prompt. That's kind of in your head. All right, so the first thing you can prove on paper is your tentative thesis, but don't forget to attack the prompt before you jot down your tentative thesis. After that, you are going to begin analyzing the documents. All right, and again, this section up here is for me. All right. So please don't fill those out. This is for office purposes only, which you will see on forms later in life, or when you go to the doctor if you haven't already. Anyway, you are going to analyze each of these documents. You see Doc A, Doc B, and it goes on all the way to the end. And I think I actually have one extra document here that you don't need to. I think I only got to G, and H can be left blank. I was too lazy to delete that column. All right, so basically, use means how you jot down in a phrase, how you might use it in your essay. Analysis, what the document is saying, the summary of it, main purpose, things that you can infer from it. And then down here, this is A, P, C, or POV, and I want you to show me that you know one of these 4 things for that particular document. The intended audience, the purpose, the historical context, or the point of view of the document. And for the okay outside knowledge, I want you to jot down maybe some outside knowledge it may jot down, may jog the memory of in your head. Now again, this is a lot more writing than you're going to be doing on test day. On test day, my recommendation is you only jot down what you feel you need to jot down. Whether it's because you might have trouble remembering it, Or if maybe a few words will jog your whole memory of the document itself, just write those down. But for this particular assignment, you're doing a lot more writing for the pre-writing. Okay, so hopefully you won't freak out thinking to yourself, how in the world is this going to take me 15 minutes on test day next year? By that point, you'll be a DBQ robot. All right, and you'll be doing this for each of the 7 documents. Again, how you would use it, the analysis, meaning the summary, the inferences, the APC or POV, and any outside knowledge it generates a memory of. All right, and then after that, for section C, you are to connect it to other historical events or content phenomena, if you will, that supports your thesis. Again, events, trends, other themes. All right. Again, for this particular one, all you are doing is putting it. So more or less, this category is asking you to show that you can put your essay into its historical context. All right. So, for example, for this particular essay, you would need to show that you understand this is the revolutionary era, constitutional era, and you also understand that it affected us even after it. That classical republicanism and classical liberalism has been with us since that day. Okay? Moving down, the synthesis point. Remember, to synthesize means to combine into one. So basically, they want you to show that you can take all the documents and take your outside knowledge, and combine all those things into one thing, being your essay, being your argument. You know, how well you can create an argument out of these separate pieces of evidence. Okay, that's the synthesis. Creating one single coherent argument out of different and various pieces of evidence. Okay. And also remember, a good argumentative essay will do one of these things. We'll we will bring up a counter argument and possibly talk it down. Okay. And we'll connect to other historical periods, context, or circumstances. Okay. And you are to complete each of these sections in the space available here. Okay. Now the additional step, which, again, this should be a couple of minutes on test day, a few minutes for this particular part. You are to create a rough outline, in groups, a rough outline of your essay, okay? And it will kind of force you to think structurally. All right, your body paragraph 1, and that's not the introduction. All right, the introduction is not part of this. This is your first body paragraph. So you might not use all of these squares. Depends upon how many paragraphs you're going to be using, or you might have to actually, draw one yourself if you're going to have more than 4 body paragraphs. Okay, so body paragraph 1, just jot down what the topic is going to be. Okay, first topic, why we fought the war. Maybe that'll be your first body paragraph. Okay, now for evidence and docs used, don't go into them, just list them. Doc A, Doc C, Doc D, Declaration of Independence, quote from Jefferson, whatever. All right. Then over here, this is basically your main argument for that particular paragraph. Okay. And this is a way to force you to outline, to basically, in a concrete fashion, pre-write your essay. All right. And you do this for each particular paragraph. Maybe why we fought, ways it does subvert, ways it doesn't subvert. Okay, that might be my suggested structure of the essay. Okay, in other words, body paragraph 2 are ways that the Constitution does subvert the revolution, and that would be kind of the classical Republican outlook. And body paragraph 3 would be ways that it did not subvert the Constitution, and that would be the classical liberal outlook. Okay. And this down here is for me. So you please don't touch this. Okay? This is the conversion scale. So if you have any questions, again, please ask. But I have about 10 seconds to stop because my videos can only be 15 minutes long as per the program. So if you have any questions, please ask. Good luck.